I was approached by Clarke Castle to develop a blanket collection based on the life of a female Edwardian explorer called Isobel Wylie Hutchison. She travelled across the Arctic, documenting the flora, fauna, culture of the Inuit people that she encountered. I was given access to her archives and her sketchbooks. Obviously it was during lockdown, so there were quite a few barriers. Much of my work was done online, and what struck me were her beautiful watercolours. There was such a limited colour palette. That was born out of necessity as she was travelling in such difficult conditions. She conveyed an atmosphere and an emotion about the environment that she was in through this very simple palette. Here was a woman breaking the codes and conventions of her time, travelling alone with just a few books and paints in very extreme conditions. So what began as research into the life of an extraordinary woman became a journey into other female explorers and their sketchbooks. I focused on Adela Breton and a lady called Maria Sibylla Merian, who was travelling across Suriname in the 17th century. So this was a time when women were being burnt at the stake as witches, so it was a really incredible feat. I loved the way that these women made homes in such harsh environments and were seen as both outsiders and insiders. And there's an empathy with their situation that makes it common to other people of the diaspora, including myself as an immigrant, who also felt that I had two worlds, two homes. The final pattern in this collection was based on a photograph of Isobel wearing an Inuit cape. I like to lean towards pops of vibrant colour when I work. That is part of my sort of growing up surrounded by women who wore saris in such vivid colours, and also growing up in a country where colour isn't gendered. I find the repetitive movement of warp winding and counting threads, lifting shafts, threading, all of that has a real rhythmic quality that I find incredibly meditative. I often weave double cloth as well, which takes double the time because it has double the warp. But what it leads to is some really beautiful pattern structures. Weaving to me is like telling a story where the fabric becomes the text. And in fact, the term textile originates from the word text. The fabric of my cloth narrates the multiple stories involved. We have the story behind this collection, which is the strong patterns and colours that reflect the sketchbooks of these amazing women. That story is then layered with the story of the making of the blanket, and each of my blankets come with a story card that has a signature of the person in the mill who's made it and a map. What I want to do is build a connection between me, the maker, the weaver, and the ultimate buyer of my blanket. Asking questions of identity is a theme that runs through all my work, and the final blankets in this collection are named after the affectionate or pet names given to the explorers by the people that they lived amongst. Tuluk for Isobel, the name given by the Inuits, and Hernandez for Adela, given by the Mexicans. The idea of mixing English names with indigenous names really struck a chord with me because my name was anglicised as a child growing up in the UK. Whenever I do a collaboration or commission, I have to feel a sense of connection with that work. Once I'm comfortable with that, I embed the identity of myself and the story of whatever it is I'm trying to produce through the blankets that I make.